Mazda has a new 7-seat family SUV. Say hello to the CX-80. It's the latest model in the company's range of large platform, more luxurious SUVs, following the CX-60 and the CX-90 launched last year. But Mazda reckons this one will be the top seller, and it's aimed at current owners of the CX-8 and CX-9 large family SUVs. It is more expensive though. So in this video, we're going to take you through everything different on the outside and how you can spot it from other cars in the large platform Mazda range, show the more luxurious and more tech-laden cabin. We'll hit the road to find out if those new 6-cylinder and 4-cylinder plug-in hybrid engines are up to the task. Let's get started. To give you some context on how big this CX-80 is, it's right between a CX-8 and a CX-9 in terms of exterior size. So it's about 5 meters long. It's very similar to a Toyota Kluger. It's bigger than a Hyundai Santa Fe and those other 7-seat SUVs this car will go up head to head with. Think of it as the relationship between the CX-8 and the CX-5 as this and the CX-60. It's the same width or thereabouts, but it's a bit longer, of course, to fit that third row of seats. Now, how can you tell a CX-80 on the road? Well, probably the main difference, and to be honest, you have to be a bit of a Mazda train spotter to notice this, is this new rear pillar design. You can see this sort of slight design there. I don't know how you describe it. It's unique to the CX-80, and once you come to learn what these cars look like, you will notice this on the road as the CX-80 and that in its specific design cue. There is, of course, a badge on the back if you're following behind this car in traffic. What do you think of the look? I'm definitely a fan of these new Mazda large platform cars. They definitely grow on you, and if you weren't a fan at launch, you may start to like them now. In this GT spec here with the black wheels as well as the black trim, I do think it looks particularly good, but what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you're not a fan of the look, or perhaps a CX-80 isn't for you and you'd rather a 60 or a 90, there are plenty of new and used cars available across the country for trusted dealers through Drive Marketplace. Check the link on your screen now. There are 4 model grades in the Mazda CX-80 range across 3 engines: 6-cylinder turbo petrol, 6-cylinder turbo diesel, and 4-cylinder plug-in hybrid. Prices range from $54,950 plus on-road costs for the base pure petrol to $87,200 plus on-road costs for the top-of-the-range Azami plug-in hybrid. On this preview drive, we spent time behind the wheel of the Azami plug-in hybrid, Touring and GT diesels, and base pure petrol. Standard features in the Pure include 18-inch alloy wheels, LED headlights, a 10.25-inch infotainment screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, cloth seats, 3-zone climate control, and a suite of advanced safety features. Even the most affordable model gets a head-up display, a 360-degree camera, and a household power outlet in the luggage area. Features added by higher model grades include 20-inch wheels, dual 12.3-inch interior screens, touch support for the infotainment display, lane centering assist, panoramic sunroof, Nappa leather trim, and heated and ventilated front seats. Full breakdown of specifications, engine outputs, and prices, read the full review at the link in the description below. Perhaps unsurprisingly, there's a lot in common in the CX-80 with other cars in Mazda's new large platform range. You can see dual 12.3-inch screens in this test vehicle, which is a GT version, so one down from the top of the range Azami. They're pretty good, not the best in the class. You do need to use this rotary dial for a lot of the functions in this screen. But fortunately, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are wireless, thankfully for a car in 2024, can be controlled just with a touchscreen, which is really nice to see on the move. Digital instrument cluster ahead of me isn't the most customizable compared to a Volkswagen or Audi or something like that, but still has everything I need, and the graphics are pretty contemporary, which is really, really good. In terms of the materials and things, it does feel premium enough to justify that price. You've got some soft leather-like materials on the dash, soft and squidgy up here, as well as down the armrest and the doors and all those kind of places. I will say that's not the case across the range. The base model Pure has hard plastic here as well as hard plastic on the doors, which is, yeah, a bit out of place in a car that is about $55,000 to $60,000 on the road, which is, yeah, not great to see. So worth spending up to this top of the range version or even this GT version for a bit more kit, a bit more luxury inside. Storage is a bit limited though. This center console bin is on the small side. It's not very deep. The glove box isn't largest either, and the door bins are quite small as well. But overall, you'll find places to put things. You kind of get used to that over time. You do have 2 cup holders, good for storing phones and things, and that wireless phone charger I mentioned before. Overall, it's a nice cabin, not the best, some places that it could be improved, but especially in top of the range Azami form, it does feel like the price that Mazda is asking for this car. It does feel like a premium experience, especially compared to some older Mazda cars, which even then still didn't have what you call bad interiors. Mazda makes really great interiors, and this CX-80 is a continuation of that. In the back of the CX-80, as you can see, it's a really nice place to be here. These seats are slid all the way back. They do slide on rails, as you can see. All the way back, I'm 186 centimeters tall, or 6'1". This seat's set up for where I drive, and I've got loads of room here, as you can see. Headroom is pretty good too as well, and even toe room under this front seat, even with it set low. So top marks in that regard, though again, that will make a difference depending on where you have this seat set up. In terms of amenities, pretty well featured there too. You've got rear air vents, 2 USB-C ports, another zone of climate, as well as heated seats in the outboard positions. Now, things worth noting that aren't so good, quite a big middle tunnel here as well, which does get in the way of the middle passenger. Though I will say storage is very good in the back here. The door bins are actually bigger in the back than they are in the front, which is a bit of a surprise. We've got soft materials around the place in this GT spec, as well as, yeah, overall, really nice, comfortable space and great for kids and adults alike. Now, in the third row of the CX-80, as you can see, I'm not actually sitting in either of these seats because with this second row seat slid all the way back, as we found was quite comfortable in that second row, I pretty much physically cannot fit here. I am tall. I am quite a tall adult, but still, yeah, it's a bit of a squeezy experience. So you can slide this forward and get to a place where I have enough room here and enough room in that second row just to be comfortable. Not a whole lot of room, similar to a Mazda 3 or something like that. But yeah, this is best used for kids or, you know, even really smaller teens or something like that. Not the biggest space, but again, this isn't the biggest 7-seater you can buy, that's for sure. Now, I'm moving over to make myself a little bit more comfortable. You can see pretty well pointed here in terms of amenities. You've got cup holders, 2 of them on each side. You've got a USB-C port on each side as well as air vents as well here. Some tie-down points, carryovers from the boot, as well as, you know, your seat belts and things like that. Overall, this space is better used for kids or, yeah, younger people. Not good for adults, but again, that's not to be expected of a car like this. And I will say ingress and egress is pretty easy with the various rails and latches and things on that second row seat to slide it, though it is worth mentioning the larger side of the seat is on the passenger side, so it hasn't been swapped for right-hand drive cars. All right, let's check out the boot. In the boot of the CX-80, Mazda claimed 258 litres of boot space in the form you see here, expanding close to 2,000 litres with both the second and the third rows of seats folded down. What that means in real terms, you can fill a couple of small carry-on suitcases in this boot in 7-seat form, as well as school bags, shopping bags, things like that you use on a day-to-day basis. Around the boot, you've got a household power outlet on the right-hand side, 220 volts, you can support, you know, whether you want to plug in a laptop or a toaster or a hairdryer, whatever you like, into that and run it either off the car's engine in this petrol and diesel or the plug-in hybrid battery if you buy the plug-in hybrid version. Now, these seats fold as you'd expect. It's a simple manual pull, sort of pull tag thing, I guess. It's not a power latch, but then again, that's not such a big deal because they are pretty light and very easy to use. You've got top tether points, I'll note though, in the back of those, as well as all the back seats in this car. Under the floor, got not a whole lot of room. There's some small space for things. There's a place to store a cargo blind as well. Worth noting there is no spare wheel in any CX-80 model. Bit of a shame given other cars in this class can have full-size spare wheels and this doesn't have anything. There you go. CX-80 is pretty competitive with other cars in the class on boot space, but what about the way it drives? Let's find out. Right, behind the wheel of the new Mazda CX-80. We're driving a petrol model at the moment. This is probably my personal favorite of the bunch of the 3 engines you can get in this car. It's got a really sporty note to it that we've come to expect of inline 6 engines. It's really revvy, it's really zingy. It's got a great feel when you're driving this car hard and enjoying it on a country road, as you might want to do with a car that has 6 cylinders and bit of power to it under your right foot. But I think the best fit for this car is that 3.3 inline 6 turbo diesel. It has a really muscular feel down low. You don't have to work it hard to get the best out of it, as you'd expect of a diesel engine. And yeah, it just goes along without much fuss. Doesn't have too much clatter at low speeds. Just a really refined engine. It actually sounds pretty good too. It doesn't sound clattery or, you know, particularly unpleasant. Doesn't feel like you're driving a truck, for example, when you're accelerating onto the freeway. Overall, really nice engine. I think it's the best fit for this car, and it's got really, really good fuel economy too. The plug-in hybrid is a bit of a mixed bag, in my opinion. It's nippy around town when you're on electric power, and it has a decent EV-only range, but when you do need a bit more power, need to overtake on a freeway, for example, or a country road, it does call on that petrol engine and it can get a bit shouty. It's not the most refined unit, doesn't make a particularly nice note either. And yeah, look, if you're buying this car on an novated lease and you can get a good deal on it or get an FBT exemption, which is in place until April 2025, and the plug-in hybrid is the cheaper one, definitely worth going for. And also, if you can charge it at home and want to enjoy that EV-only range and the lower running costs of a plug-in hybrid, it's also worth considering. But yeah, if you can't charge at home and you just want an engine that works really well in this car, I'd stick with the diesel. It's probably the best. Save you a bit of money too if you're buying this car outright. Now, around town as we're doing now, it's a pretty easy car to drive. The steering is relatively light at low speeds. It's not feather light for sure, and there is a nice heft to it, but it's not overpowering for parking or low speed maneuvers either. The brake pedal, you do need to give it a bit of a push to make it interact and make it actually bring the car to a stop. It's not quite as sensitive as we'd like. Then again, some drivers may like that, so definitely worth taking a test drive before you buy. The 8-speed multi-clutch transmission also has some room for improvement, exhibiting some hesitation and jerkiness at lower speeds that take away from the smoothness of the drive. The biggest weakness with the car though, I think, is probably the ride. Now, as with the other cars in Mazda's large platform range, it is a little bit firmer than you might expect of a big family SUV like this. It doesn't cosset you over bumps, you do feel bumps in the cabin, and there's a sharper reaction to speed bumps, little imperfections in the road than you might want of a car like this. It's definitely better than the early iterations of the CX-60 that came out about 18 months ago at the time we're filming this video. But still, it's not fantastic and there's definitely room for improvement. Not terrible, but yeah, not great. And some of the cars in the class, whether they're luxury cars from German brands or the likes of Toyota Kluger, Hyundai Santa Fe, they do ride and ride comfort much better than this CX-80. So there you go, the new Mazda CX-80. I think this is one of the better examples of what Mazda can do with this new large platform. Sure, there are still some rough edges in the way it drives, particularly the ride. It's a little bit too firm over bumps, still for our liking. And there are some quirks in the way that transmission behaves. And of course, this car is simply more expensive than the old CX-8 and CX-9 were. But still, I think you are getting a nicer, more luxurious car for the money. Sure, you do have to spend up the range a little bit to get some of those nice luxury features and materials, but still, it is a really well-assembled car. It's roomy inside, the interior looks great, and there's plenty of technology provided you go for the right model grade. Overall, worth considering if you're in the market for a new 7-seater or looking to upgrade from an old CX-8 or CX-9. If you enjoyed this video, why not give us a like by clicking that button down below, and of course, hit subscribe to see all our latest videos on new car reviews, news, comparisons, everything else we do here on the Drive channel. And of course, for the full written review, click the link in the description below. And to watch another video on another new Mazda SUV, click up there to watch our video review on the CX-90.